Hello, everyone. My name is Carlos Santos Rivera, and I am a graduate student here at the City Metropolitan Planning Department at the University of Utah. Today, I'm going to be talking about the case of reparative justice in decriminalizing marijuana in Utah. So, what are our current conditions? Here in the city of Utah is a really unique case since in 2018, Utahns came together to pass a resolution called the Utah Medical Cannabis Act to legalize medical marijuana. And although it was very successful, it just has been like a tipping point for the remaining issues that we're facing related to marijuana reform. So just to give you an overall idea of what's going on, we have on average about one arrest per hour related to marijuana possession. And just to give you, some statistics about 2021 alone, we recorded about 6,000 arrests due to marijuana possession and over 300 arrests in marijuana sales. So this really reflects, our current debate when it comes to justice, public health, public safety, and also equity issues, which I am going to be talking quite a lot in a few moments. So let's dive into marijuana possession arrests in Utah. This is a report from ACLU, and this is looking over 2010 to 2018, and just looking statewide at marijuana possession arrest compared to all other drugs arrest. And it was really interesting because marijuana is one of the most salient arrests in Utah. Actually, it's 40% of that share of all of the other drug-related arrests. So it's definitely an issue and it's a pressing need for the legislature to take action. So Utah, when we're comparing Utah now nationally, it's a very unique kind of placing because we are kind of top 10 when it comes to, our arrests related to marijuana. So we're one of the highest. So we're kind of like representing the state and not necessarily the best ways possible. When we're looking at marijuana possession arrest and the rates and how have shifted across time, specifically from 2010 to 2018, we've seen that Utah is actually the second in the nation with the highest increases in marijuana possession arrest. And on top of that, just looking at those 8 years alone, there has been an increase of 120% in marijuana possession arrests in Utah. So again, just uh, really echoing how important this issue is, even though it's kind of ignored by the media and current, legislation priorities. So for this specific project, this specific class, and this specific topic, I actually wanted to gather data myself. I wanted to gather some demographic information, given that we needed to do some stakeholder and demographic analysis. So I felt that it was only fair for me to look at, historical data and current data related to demographics such as age, ethnicity, race, and gender, etc. I wanted to know about the outcomes of the arrest, whether or not there were fines or fees involved. Um, and I also wanted to know, of course, the number of arrests across time. But however, the Utah Department of Corrections did not respond to my grandma request. But thankfully, I was able to find ACLU documents that kind of jump into specific statistics about the state and demographics. So when we're looking at the nation and demographics when it comes to marijuana-related arrest, we can see that Black folks, are overrepresented in these arrests when comparing to the white counterparts. So it is definitely a unique piece of information, given that Black folks are a minority in the nation, but they are overrepresented when it comes to, policing and, all the disparities that are embedded in our justice system. And Utah is not an exception. We know that, Black folks in Utah are less than 2% of the overall population, but it's overrepresented as well when it comes to, marijuana related arrests. And I'll jump into those numbers in a second. So when we look at Black people in Utah, they're actually 5 times more likely to be arrested than white counterparts. And this is again from the same report from ACLU looking at 2010, 2018 data. So it is definitely an very interesting piece of information that points out, that we really need some equity lenses when we're thinking about, policing in our state and how, folks of, Black, Indigenous people of colors are experiencing policing and, how, our policing are being either prejudiced, discriminatory, or engaging in biases related to, race and ethnicity and whatnot. So I wanted to also, I'm an urban planner by trainer, so I like maps myself. So I wanted to look at this breakdown by county and actually compare it to other counties nationally. And Utah's actually trending, and not for the good reasons. We actually have quite a few counties that are kind of like trending since they are above the national average of racial disparities. And you can see over here, pointing out on the right side, that Washington County is actually 9 times more likely Black people are to get arrested with marijuana possession. And same with other, counties like Utah, Wasatch, Iron, and even Salt Lake City is one of the above national average for those racial disparities. So it's really interesting when we look at communities specifically, and just like talking about this state, and it brings a lot of questions since again it's a very small population of minorities in the state of Utah, however, is being overrepresented when it comes to marijuana possession arrest. So Utah, just to give you a synopsis, Utah is ranking nationally for its racial disparities. 40% of all related, arrests are actually related to possession of marijuana. Black people are 5 times more likely to get arrested than compared to white counterparts, and Utah is ranking 11th in the nation for the largest racial disparity arrests in marijuana possession. So, this was not part of this specific, delivery, but I did wanted to kind of bring some of the case studies next to us. In this case, is another mountain region state of Colorado that has implemented, um, I guess have legalized marijuana, and how much of their impacts they have experienced, positive impact they have experienced in their economy. And we have seen that throughout years, they have made billions of dollars in tax revenues from marijuana sales. So it is definitely something that poses a lot of, value propositions for the state of Utah and policymakers to consider, given our, very fragile infrastructure and our current infrastructure needs. So I think that this is definitely a viable solution to just think about it in an economic way. For this specific presentation, I wanted to also bring a little bit of my stakeholder analysis, and just to give you a breakdown, I just, broke it down as I see, myself working with different, stakeholders, and I always think about, policymakers, organizations, and community members. So policymakers, I have, the governor, the state senate, the House of Representatives, the county, city mayors, commissioners, elected officials, city council, that type of um, folks. And then organizations, I have advocacy groups, government entities, police departments, public safety departments, healthcare organizations and healthcare officials, nonprofit and philanthropic organizations and whatnot. And then for communities, I have people just like you and me, just people, the general public, educators, individuals, small and medium businesses that are embedded in the community, and community members and community leaders. all of these folks, they have very different needs, very different, public interests, but it is in the best public interest, right, to think about this phenomena as a, equity issue and as a health issue, more than just like a punitive issue. And that's, of course, my angle. You can disagree with me. So I have three policy interventions. One of them is the criminalization of marijuana use. So this one involves, decriminalizing all the use of marijuana, focusing on reducing the legal consequences associated with minor possession. So that involves no arrest, no prison time, no criminal record for first-time possession offenders for any sort of small amount. And then very important, being treated as a traffic violation, so lessen of those punitive measurements rather than, seeing as a criminal act. Number two is the legalization of recreational marijuana, and this one involves, to legalize the production, the sale, the possession, the consumption of recreational marijuana. And that involves, implementation of regulations such as, restrictions of age, just like what would you do with alcohol, licensing requirements, establishing tax obligation to generate, state revenue, which is one of the factors that I think it's really, really important, and then regulate the market consumption and regulate the market and consumption standards. We know that this is a health issue right now. We've seen that, fentanyl is being leaked into, marijuana, and it's really just terrible, terrible, terrible thing. So I think that we have an opportunity to kind of regulate that market and take on the control over that aspect. Policy intervention number three is pardoning marijuana offenders. So I think this one really just encompasses the equity focus that I bring, and just the reparative framework, which is to pardon individuals previously convicted of marijuana offenses that would not be crimes under the new legislation. So this legal partner will involve, the reduction of enforcement costs. So no paying for, these jail cells or these services where, these folks can just be, contributing to society. So that will be number two, which is the reparative and social justice aspect of it. Again, just the over-policing in marginalized, underrepresented, and disenfranchised and underserved communities. And what does that entail, right? So that overrepresentation of, BIPOC folks. So bringing these folks back to our community. So that involves number three, which is that reintegration and that rehabilitation of, of these offenders into our economy and our community. Lastly, I would like to say that we have a very unique opportunity in front of us, and that is like we can either join Nevada, Colorado, and these other states in creating, this massive, value proposition and income generation for the state, and fund many other projects like our current health and public safety departments. So this is a call for action. I think that it is the only way to support each other in a moral duty way, and creating a more just and equitable society. So this approach really encompasses the principles of justice, equity, and correct, historic discrimination and biases. Right to your congressperson, and let's build a more resilient future for all Utahns. Thank you so much.